Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche pregame show. The Avs are taking on the Winnipeg Jets. We got AJ, we got Eric, we got Rudo coming to you live. Everybody except for Valenchushkin and the guys that are long-term injured are back in the lineup. You got Kale back, you got Byram back, you got Cogliano back. Maybe more interestingly than getting guys back, the Avs keeping Sam Malinsky in the lineup, giving him another go. Bednar praised him pretty heavily. What do you guys think this means for Sam? Is this a couple more games where they get to look at him, or is there more to earn here?
I think this is great news if you're a Sam Malinsky fan or if you're Sam Malinsky yourself, right? And we are fans. We know that. We make it known all the time. Not because he's a friend of the show, but because he's a good player, right? Mm-hmm. I catch myself looking all the time. Like even this morning, I did it again. I'm like, oh, Kale's out there. And I am not dumb enough to compare him to Cale Makar. It's not what I'm doing. But I'm just looking out there, and you're at one end of the ice. He's all the way down there. You're like, oh, Kale's back. Then I'm like, that's not Kale. That's Malinsky. You know what I mean? Like it's the mannerisms. Like with the like the pump fakes and the legs and. You know what I mean? There's small movements, you know what I mean, of Kale. So I'm not saying he's Cale Makar, but I think he's starting to play with confidence. I think he's starting to show and show himself, not just the coaches, that he can play in this league, which is nice. And that's what we saw, and that's what we were hoping for right in Vegas and, obviously development camp and all that stuff. So I think there's God, I'm going to go on a limb here. I think he's here to stay. That's just me.
I was sidetracking this really quick for a little bit, but I think it's funny. You go to any rink in the country, you look at any age group, and you'll see a kid trying to do the Cale Makar stutter step on the blue line. Doesn't quite look like Cale when they do it usually, but it's just funny how much the way Cale Makar plays is already impacting hockey at any age around the world, really.
100%. You got to remember where I'm from, too. Montreal, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be Patrick Roy and Martin Brodeur. It was so funny because they changed the goalie position, and especially Patty with the butterfly. Then all of a sudden, all the goalies starting to be butterfly goalies. Kids were like 8 years old, and they're flopping at every shot. You know what I mean? Like butterflies. So it's funny. So it's funny you're saying that because, I always tell that to my youngest's youth hockey team, and they're like, well, Cale Makar. And I'm always like, oh, I know, I understand that, but you're not Cale Makar. It's not looking the same way as Cale Makar.
It do be like that. AJ, excited for Malinsky magic?
Yeah, and I'll disagree that I think he's here to stay, but I will say I think he's here to stay as long as Gerard continues to be gone.
Sure.
When Gerard comes back, then I think you can have an honest conversation of where
stylistically,
are we? What do we need? How's Jack Johnson played in that time? How's Caleb Jones played in that time? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm fully expecting that Malinsky is in for Jones tonight.
That's my expectation.
I don't envision any world in which an NHL coaching staff healthy scratches Jack Johnson one game after he played 22 minutes for them in a kind of an emergency situation and did pretty well for himself. I just don't see it. So I'm
either.
I'm completely assuming that it's Caleb Jones that gets the axe tonight. But for Sam Malinsky, I mean, I think this is a huge vote of confidence for him because he just wasn't very good 2 days ago.
Yep.
That wasn't the best that we've seen out of him, and I think Jared Bednar is saying, all right, I want to see.
I know what you have. Yeah.
I want to see how you respond to this. You weren't that great the other day.
Show me what you're made of. Yeah.
Does it get worse, or does he bounce back? Because all of these things are instructive. He's 25.
Yeah.
You don't have...
He's not an Oscar Olausen 21-year-old kid.
Exactly. And it's
That's
funny.
Right.
You probably did. I think somewhere in the recesses of my brain I also did. But this is the first year of Oscar Olausen's ELC.
Yep.
because the last 2 years slid, and
Yep.
I wasn't thinking about it because it wasn't a big deal.
The Euros, it gets all.
There was no expansion draft for me to be mad about, so I wasn't obsessed with it.
Didn't need to know who's
Exactly.
available.
That is crazy when you think about it, though.
It is because
I
it
know.
feels like Oscar Olafsson's been old news for 2
yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and this
He's
is the
gonna be
first year of
fine.
his ELC. Truly,
Yep.
we
Still
we
got
saw
time.
him the other
Yeah.
day. Bednar said nice things about him because he's not going to dump
Even
on him
though
in the media.
It's
No.
bad. But that's
And
okay.
he was a dud for me in
Yeah,
my
yeah.
write-up the
Deserved,
other day
yeah.
for specific reasons. But on the other side of that, why we're talking about Oscar Olafsson right now is because he is 21.
Yep.
You do have some time there to kind of
Yes.
figure out who he is,
Yes.
what's going on. Sam Malinsky's 25.
Yep.
The Avs need to know within probably by the end of this year how they really feel about him
Yep.
being part of that plan. And Sam Malinsky, part of the reason they want to know because they have Sean Behrens, who's either signing and joining pro hockey at the end of this year, or they're trading him at the deadline because Sam Malinsky has earned a job and he has said, we're good.
Yep.
But I agree on Oscar. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time to figure out. And again, remember I said it. It's an identity problem with him. He has to figure out what he is, and I think that's what he's trying to work on. Now, I agree with you. You play 11 minutes. Is that enough? No, you got to do a lot more to show that you're an NHL player. I said it the other day. You got to jump on the opportunity. If you're given 2 shifts,
Yeah.
that's 2 shifts that you can do something.
It's 2
When
NHL
you-
shifts you waited your whole life
That's
for.
my point. So yeah, did I see that out of Oscar? No. Does that mean he's a bad player? No. Do I think he'll be fine? Yes. To get back to Malinsky, all I'm saying is I think circumstances will lead that he's not going anywhere. But I agree with you. If everyone comes back, everyone's healthy, knock on wood, I think that. But I think that circumstances will lead to be that he's going to be fine. He's going to be here.
It's a funny conversation. We're getting sidetracked a little bit
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
but you say there's a lot of time, but you just never know, right? There are players who knew exactly who they were at 18. Gabe
Yeah.
Landeskog, you knew exactly who that guy was at 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, did you ever.
And then there are guys who don't figure it out till they're 25, 26, 27.
Devon
Val
Taves.
Mikushkin.
Val Nichushkin's another one.
I'm not an NHL player, but I'm 32. I spent my entire 20s not knowing anything about anything.
That's right.
So,
It's not that easy, or else everybody would do it, right? So anyway,
anyway.
it's not that
A lot
easy.
of reason for optimism.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm more optimistic about Oscar Olafsson today than I have been
Agree.
at any point since he got drafted.
Agree.
This year's AHL work has been highly encouraging to me. Not the production, everything else. Anyway,
Certainly not the team's results.
the team has not been great this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Pretty big letdown for me.
Yeah. But focusing on tonight's Avs game, Big E has got 3 keys for you on how the Avs can start another. I guess it's not a win streak yet. It'd be 2 in a row.
Building towards.
Yep.
Where's the win streak? Where are we at on a 10-game segment? So that would be.
This is game 26. So they're
5
they are 2-1-2.
on target.
Yep.
On target. If you win, if you get a successful homestand coming up, you know what I mean. You're right
Yep.
there again.
Yep.
Same thing. So all right,
4-1 homestand that we've talked about.
there you go. All right, my fault here. Let's get back to it. I'm going to stick to Bednar this morning at his presser. Stick to your game longer than them. And what he means by that is sometimes when things go not your way, you tend to maybe try to get away from the game plan and just look at the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday. Didn't go too well. I don't think they stuck to anything. But he mentioned the Winnipeg Jets are one of those teams that they stick to their game, and it's going to be important for the Avs to stick to their game longer than them. If that makes any sense, it's going to be a tight game. Jets are playing better defensively lately. Don't be tempted to get away from your game. So pretty simple. 2, beware of their top guys. This is AJ's favorite team secretly, people, just in case you guys didn't know. AJ's in love with the Winnipeg Jets for all the reasons. Beware of their top guys. 55. This freaking 81 is a good player. I was watching him this morning. Oh, my God. He might have the ugliest haircut in the league, but
He's just the ugliest guy in the league.
it's unbelievable how effective this guy is.
Yeah.
I was mesmerized by him this morning. I was,
Kyle
you
Connor
know,
catches some serious
and obviously-
strays out here,
Let me tell you, he's got to be good at something because his looks are not going to get him through life.
but he is a hell of a player. Anyway, so, I think Rudo likes him too. Ehlers. I mean,
I love
we're big
Ehlers,
fans of Ehlers here. So, in company, Alabach is a good player. Obviously, UMass Lowell product, and he is a dominant force in the NHL. This is a good
Gigantic.
goalie. He's a gigantic force in net. Be sharp in your own end with your reads because these guys will make you pay. They don't need much, and they can generate a lot from behind the goal line there. So, number 3, I went Mikko. I was praying for, and again, I think Rudo wrote about it again today, but, you know, we're complaining about the production of McKinnon and guys like that, and they're all on pace for 100 points. I mean, it's sad.
Because on a 101 point pace.
But
But
that's
like, he sucks.
He sucks. But that's my point. I think those guys are so good, and we have so much respect for them that we demand. And again, it's when we say we, it's Bednar, it's C-Mac and Sakic, it's their teammates. They expect a lot of production from those guys, and just Mikko hasn't been up to snuff. He's got bagels in 7 games, right? I think he's due tonight. We were asking for Mac to come out last game. He came out flying. He was the best player on the ice. I believe tonight Mikko's the guy. You told me yesterday that he likes to play against the Jets, so I'm going Mikko.
Something like 27 points in 19 games in his career against the Jets. Like, he's been good against
And if
them.
he can connect on the PP, especially early from that shot where he got denied, you know, Bednar talked about it this morning. He got denied a couple times. It was the Mikko shot.
Yeah.
Goalie made a save. It wasn't wide. It was on net. Goalie made good saves. If he can just connect, this is the guy that, you know, I'll use you guys as lines. I mean, he can score 8 goals the next 3 games. You know, this is the type of guy that he is, right?
Yep,
So that's why I'm going Mikko. Big one for the Moose tonight.
I want to go back to your first point because you talked about Jared Bednar. We actually have a portion of that interview from Morning Skate today that you guys can have a listen into here.
Yeah, well, it's funny you ask that because we just had a big talk about that going into play LA. You know, I think I think that it can't always look the exact same, and I want our team to be mature enough as a group to sort of understand the way a game's going. If you don't have a ton of energy, if you're not executing the way you would normally like to execute, that I'd like our team to be able to recognize those situations and be safer with the puck, make a little bit more disciplined decisions with the puck that can lead us to, you know, just even if it's just getting on a forecheck instead of always, you know, looking for the home run play off the rush or what have you. It's really more about puck management for our team, that we're not just going to be get up and go executing at 100% every night to create scoring chances off the rush attack. And if we're not, it's going the other direction. If teams are checking us well in certain areas, that we identify that and sort of shift it to plan B, where we can create a better forecheck or sustain some time in the offensive zone and just sort of control the flow of the game. We talk about being able to be willing and able to win the 1-0 game if we need to, you know, so that we don't need to score 4 or 5 goals in order to win hockey games. We want to be able to do both. Certainly we'd like to score 4 or 5 goals a night, but if we can't, then we want to be able to lock it down and just be more of a responsible, mature group.
Jared, that sounds similar to what Rick Bowness has been preaching with the Jets, and they have been winning some low-scoring games. Jets are a team you've obviously seen plenty of over the years.
Yeah.
How different do they look to you maybe this season compared to seasons past?
Well, it doesn't surprise me now that you say that, because it looks like a really disciplined, structured team, you know. Like I look at some of their numbers. Their rush attack's been really good. Their rush coverage has been really good. You know, discipline at protecting the house in the defensive zone. It's all the things that coaches are going to key on, especially when you kind of get in. You watch your team play for a bit. You start making some adjustments, and then you really want, like we're at the point now where we really want to try and dial in our game so it's looking more and more consistent, right? So I think it's the maturity of their team, understanding where they're at, and once you figure out what it takes to win on any given night, just trying to hit that mark every night, and it looks like they're doing it, and they're getting great goaltending along with it, so it's going to give you a chance to win every night. Again, you don't have to necessarily fill the net in order to win in this league. You just got to be willing to stick with your game longer than your opponent.
I think it's 3 games for Sam Malinsky now. How do you think he's adjusted to the pace of the game?
I think he's been playing really well. Yeah, he'll be in again tonight, and even with those guys coming back in, he's going to play, because I think he's been doing some good things on both sides of the puck. I just talked about it recently. He looks really calm and poised, and he's executing well out of the D zone, in the neutral zone, offensive zone, chipping in a little bit. I like to see that part of his game even ramp up a little bit more, to trust his instincts, but it's starting to come.
So a lot Bednar covered there, from Malinsky to the Jets to the Avs themselves. And I did find it interesting. We are 25 games into the season. Bednar comes out and says, hey, look, we've seen ourselves play for a while now. We really should be refining things. We should be getting down into the specific details of being a good hockey team here.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that? Do you think the Avs are to that point?
No.
There's still some, it feels like there's still some big things for them to sort out, yeah?
No, I mean, we talk about this every year, that through December, trying to find your identity, you're trying to figure out who's good with who. You're trying to figure out which one of your guys which one of your big guns is going to disappoint, which one of your other guys you need more from, and whose games are going to round into form. Because teams at game 25 so rarely look the same at game 65.
Of course.
And so you're just not there yet. I would say, just me personally, I always say start of the new year. Maybe the
You're
All-Star
talking about
break.
game 40-ish there.
Yeah. You really start to say, okay, we're halfway through the year. Now we're drilling down on what we're good at and what we need to really, really start to work on. And then, as Eric knows, practice becomes all about those 2 areas that you need to get better at.
So,
and if you're the Chicago Blackhawks, I was gonna say Sharks, but the Sharks are so fun lately. Yeah, if you're the Blackhawks, your practices are 90 minutes of everything. So, the Avs are still they're getting there, right? They've got some solutions. They've got a third line they love. They're trying to figure it out with Freddie Olofsson, but they otherwise have some fourth line pieces that they're comfortable with. They've got first line pieces that they're comfortable with. They're that soft middle of the lineup, though.
Yep.
What are the answers there?
you're learning too about yourselves as a team, like you said, and coaches are learning to see what works, what doesn't work. You might need it. You might have a game in the playoffs where all of a sudden there's 4 guys that are out. Then next thing you know, you revert back to what you saw last game, right? McKinnon, O'Connor, and Druin. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be tonight. Again, you're missing Val, you're missing Leckie, you're missing, you're still missing some guys.
Yeah.
But who knows in the playoffs? Because you go back, you're like, oh yeah, remember that game in November or whatever it was, December.
Yep.
Sorry, we're in December now. Hey,
Barely.
it worked. It was this. It was this. So you're learning as a coaching staff. You're learning as individuals, and you're learning as a team what works, what doesn't work, and you're learning to gel together. Obviously, go back to the first 5, 6, 7 games. Remember, we were like, Colton and Wood, it's fine. Now we're like, oh, Colton and Wood. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. It just takes a little bit of time sometimes, and to feel comfortable. And as a decor, as 4 lines, your special teams, Georgie and Net, right? Everything. It just kind of all of a sudden it gels. And you're right. Usually after January, it's like, hey, and you hear it in the locker room too. All right, boys, we're on the back 9 now.
Yeah.
Let's go. There's stuff that we got away with stuff in the first 40 games. Now let's remember what we do. And this is what we do here. We mean business. Where on a championship caliber team, they'll let it go. They won't let it go. I'm sorry. They'll be like, hey, AJ, that's not up to snuff. That play's no good. We don't do that here. Where if it's a younger team where there's not a lot of leadership, things go by and then all of a sudden they bite you in the butt a couple games later still because it's never been addressed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Building off of that point.
Yeah.
Do you think that's Tomas Tatar's problem? Can I say, is that part of it? He's been playing for non-competitive, not teams
Certainly not championship caliber.
and teams that don't know that's how
takes
you
to
win.
Yeah.
Because New Jersey last year was that team that ascended.
They were brand new to this. Yeah.
Exactly. They weren't a team that said, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is how we've had success. He spends enough time in Montreal. It didn't work at all in Vegas.
Yeah.
And the last several years of him in Detroit was no good.
It's a valid point.
So I wonder, because, Jonathan Duran said during an interview, I believe it was this morning,
Probably.
I had a really hard time with the systems. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Duran has never had to play in a competitive environment like this. So this is, same thing, brand new to him.
It's a valid point. It's a great point. And I've seen it over the years. And I'm going back again to Avalanche 1.0, not 2.0. I've seen it. I've seen it with guys coming in here and not being able to sustain the daily pressure. Forget about games. The daily pressure of what it takes to be a championship team with the Waz and the Foot and Joe, quietly, because Joe's the one that's doing squat in the gym. He's doing this, he's doing that, and then you're like, holy crap! Like, are you serious? You know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about putting my foot up on the couch and watching football. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's like, no, we work here, we do this, we go after. Yeah, we're miserable after one loss. It's not like, this is all rosy and where are we going out? It's like, no, we lost the game, we're not losing the next one. So it's an environment that's not suited for everybody. So that's a valid point. I'm not saying that that's the answer for Thomas, but sometimes it takes time to.
You've also talked about Tatar's kind of a happy-go-lucky personality, and he's
great person.
Likes coming to the rink, and he's
Great
just
person.
sort of that personality. And I wonder how this noted Avalanche
into a hyper
environment,
serious Nathan
right?
McKinnon in practice.
And I wonder how the Avalanche environment kind of gels with that sort of personality. It's not to say that we haven't had happy players in the Avalanche.
Oh no.
For the last couple of years, but there's a certain attitude that it takes to be a happy guy, to have a lot of fun, but also understand that when it's go time, it's go time.
I'll go back. Sidney Crosby, Jonathan Tate. I mean, they're all the same, right? It's all
right.
Yeah, we'll have fun, but we're working.
Those cultures didn't get established because they weren't highly successful.
Yep.
They don't.
And I haven't mentioned him in this, but Ryan Johansson, we talk about country club atmosphere. Is this not is this not also applicable to him?
For sure it is.
Being in Nashville when they have expectations for as long as they have?
Yeah, I think it definitely applies to Ryjo too. There's probably a handful of other guys that you could look at and say it's a little all over the board. Ross Colton, one that comes out of Tampa Bay, one that comes out of a very recently successful championship system.
Yeah.
He's the first one to adapt and figure it out here, right?
Yeah.
So might be something to that.
Yeah. Just curious, something I hadn't really thought of.
Great point.
One more thing here as a quick food for thought, because we've been talking about it a lot. The Avs power play. I know on paper it's 24% or whatever it's at now.
Frustrating still.
But, and to back up how it's kind of actually been bad, their net power play percent is only 14%. And net power play percent being you subtract for the goals against that they've given up, which they have given up a handful of shorties.
Given up way too many shorties.
So it really, it's been a struggle. You need it to be better, which is where I went with my bets tonight. First of all, I think it's going to be a bit of a low-scoring game between Hellebuck and Georgiev. You'd like to see some good goaltending. So I took under 2 goals in the first period for plus money. But I'm taking the Avs power play to break out, and I'm taking Mikko to break out. Plus 500 for over 1.5 on the power play. He might get that without breaking out because it's Mikko Rantanen, and he might get 2 secondary assists, especially with Cale Makar back at the point for the Avs power play. So could just happen anyway. And then I took Georgiev's over on saves as well. Like I said, I think it's going to be a goalie game.
In the back of my mind, I keep forgetting Cale Makar's back in the lineup.
Yep.
Because every time he gets hurt, I am emotionally write him off for 2 weeks.
He'll be back in 10 games.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's back already. All right. It's a big one for him to be back for. This is an important division game.
Yep, it is a big one. Make sure you join us on Bet365 with your bets. Sign up with code DNVR365. Of course, you must be 21 or older, Colorado only. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. We do have one super chat here from Broker who says, I'm calling it now. Mikko's going to get back on track tonight and get his goal touch back. 2 goals from the Moose. I hope you're right, Broker. We would all like to see Mikko look like a pro tonight.
He just doesn't do this for very long.
Yep. it always comes to an end.
Yeah.
We are going to wrap up this pregame show. We do have a watch-along coming your way. Tune in for that if that's your thing. If not, we will be live post-game breaking down whatever happens in this game, so join us for that. Like and subscribe here on YouTube. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to you in a little bit.
Y'all silly like the mayor.